correctly.
Okay. On the devices.
Yeah. So today is November 16th. It's about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. My name is Matt Poyer, and I am here with Major Cary Torbert, my bad. And so yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So last time we met with you and Doris and everyone, we talked a little bit about Auburn Freedom League.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back on it, what else the Mount Freedom League kind of sticks out to you? Any other stories we didn't really talk about last time?
I think we talked about everything
most of them.
last time.
Yeah.
Last time it was just something that the young people on the west side and on the east side of around Summerhill decided that it was time for us to step up and try to improve our relationship with the city of Auburn, starting off, and then spread it to Opelika. And it was one of those things that our parents backed us on everything we did. They helped us, they guided us, prayed with us, and we used the church as our base operation. At the time, we used White Street, which is no longer there on White Street, the corner of White Street and Drake Avenue. They have since been torn down, but that was originally where we used to meet at all the time. The pastor was in agreeable, and we didn't have any problems in the city of Auburn, per se, during that period of time. But we all got arrested when we went to Opelika.
Yeah.
For parading without a permit. We had applied for one, and they just want to give us one. We kept applying, they want to give us. So we decided to leave Thompson Chapel that afternoon and to march to the courthouse. And before we got past the post office, they were waiting on us and arrested us.
Wow.
So.
Were you guys like scared at all when you were organizing and doing Freedom League, or?
Well, we felt safe for some reason or another. We wasn't scared. We wasn't fearful in the thing. The only time that really we was afraid was me and a couple of young ladies went to a place in Auburn, which I told you last time, was that
Orange Bowl. Yeah.
And the guy laid a gun on the counter, which at time we just ran on out, and it scared us.
Yeah.
And the FBI came by to interview us and stuff like that, and we never knew what came of the complaint, but we didn't worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
So we just never did go back to that place. But everything else in Auburn was okay, and they did a good job. And we didn't have any problem. We went in, bought our food, and ate, and left. So.
What kind of feelings did you have seeing Doris kind of take that leadership role?
I felt good. Doris was always the one that was more vocal in our family. I was a quiet one. Like I said, I had this impediment of speech. I didn't like talking to people and stuff like that in the day. But she was always very smart, and she was outgoing, and she didn't mind speaking her mind. That's where my mother brought us up. If something on your mind, just go ahead and talk it out. Be honest about it, And she prayed with us all the time. My daddy prayed with us all the time, and we just felt good.
Yeah.
When it came around, especially in Auburn. For some reason, though, we didn't feel doing things in Auburn. We had a few students that said things and did things, but it didn't bother us while we were marching. We passed a fraternity house one time, and they were saying some things, and we just turned our signs toward them and started singing, "We shall overcome." And all of a sudden, they decided that they just kept hollering, but we kept marching. So coming back the same way, they didn't say anything when we left the thing. Came back to the church, marched the same way. It was just quiet and easy going.
Yeah. Were you would you like watch the news and see what was going on in like Birmingham and Montgomery and?
Oh yeah, we always watched them, especially when the evening news came on, the national news came on. We saw what was going on in Birmingham. We saw the dogs and everything that was going on. The only thing that kind of really put a little fear in us a little bit is when they start, two things, when they start beating the people in Montgomery
Mm-hmm.
And then they turned around and bombed the church in Birmingham. And I know they start checking, everybody started looking at our church before we had service and all that kind of stuff. But the deacons and the men of the church, was always somewhere around.
Mm-hmm.
When we had our meeting, most of it was young folks, but we had some adults there, and some would be standing on the outside, some would be around looking and checking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one other occasion we was a little afraid when this guy shot this man at the bus station in Tuskegee. He said the young man was threatening him, but all the information we had was that it wasn't no threat. It was just something that he was mad, and then appreciate the young man talking to him or whatever, and decided to shoot him. So we never did. That's something that we were fearful of.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the Tuskegee Institute being down there, and I was scheduled to go to school at Tuskegee Institute.
Uh-huh.
And I noticed the first time I went to the bus station after going to school down there, and I was riding home one Sunday, I felt a little unease just being at the same location, but it wasn't no problem. I bought my ticket, got on the bus, no problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only time.
When you look back on those experiences, what kind of emotions or feelings do those memories kind of invoke?
Well, sometimes I sit around and I think about the past. I get a little angry
Mm-hmm.
because I felt that people didn't respect us and didn't respect, especially my grandparents and stuff like that. See how people treated them
Mm-hmm.
and how they was really trying to do the best they could. And then I think about it, I said, well, my family came through it without too much of a problem and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that really bothered me sometimes is my grandparents that lived in Marvin, Alabama, my mother's parents, even up until, I guess, I was about 12 or 13 years old, they never did spend Christmas with us. They always said that they had to spend Christmas with the people in Marvin, the people, the landowners.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just something that just was like they was dictating exactly how they lived and everything. And finally we convinced them that they need to spend Christmas with their family and stop spending Christmas down there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll go down there, they have Christmas, they'll give them some fruit, and they'll give them a little gift and give them a little money that they owe them from the crops they had made that year and stuff like that. It was, in my opinion, back in the day, it was still a little bit more of this kind of like, I'm your master, more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
You look up to me more than you look up to your family.
Mm-hmm.
And that used to disturb me a lot because we were trying to get away from that type of stuff. But unfortunately, my mother grew up in a place where they had a lot of sharecropping and stuff like that. And the school was something like 12 miles away from us, and they had to walk to school every morning and walk back and do everything. And my granddad, for some reason, they felt very close to him for some reason. My son found some research that says that the family dad was my grandfather's dad. I'm still looking into that and see what I can find myself, because he spent a lot of time with that family rather than with his own family. I remember spending time with my grandmother in Marvin and going to visit them, and I see him come in around about 8 o'clock and then leave before we get up in the morning. And he would spend all this time with this other gentleman that was on a lot of land down there, him and his sons and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we didn't spend much time with him. I remember going home with my grandfather just one time in my whole life. went fishing with him only twice. But he used to go fishing and hunting all the time with everybody, with these, with this white fella and this two other people a lot. His son and this type of stuff. And go and barbecuing a lot. He learned to barbecue from this man, and so he just spent a lot of time barbecuing with him in Pensacola and Panama City. He said, "Why, Big Daddy?" He in Pensacola with Mr. So-and-so, so-and-so, and the next thing you know, he may come back, and then I remember him having a special sauce, barbecue sauce, and me and my cousin wanted a copy of it, but he would give us to everything except for one thing.
Yeah.
We still to this day hadn't figured out what that one thing was.
What was the sauce like?
Yeah, it was a barbecue sauce that had a special taste, and it was perfect. Everybody loved it. And he used to do these whole hogs and use that barbecue sauce after he finished cooking and mix it up and have barbecues for the family. Once in a while, I remember family reunion, he cooked the whole hog in a pit and put this barbecue sauce in. We were about 12 or 13, and me and my cousin kept telling me, "Big Daddy, you gonna give us a copy of that?" Finally, when we got a little bit old and he had lost his legs, and I think he had forgot some of it himself.
Yeah.
He gave us his recipe, and to the point where it was almost there, but it was missing something. We done put things together, try to change it, but our taste good.
Yeah.
But not great like his.
Doesn't have that zing to it.
He had one of the best ones I know. Even when we started FOP barbecues out here, I used to mix this barbecue sauce for our Boston butts, and we had another guy named Captain Dennis used to do the ribs, and he had a special rub that me and him put together. We put on the ribs and put that stuff on. Everybody used to come out there and buy us out. "Give me some of that barbecue sauce." I said, "Wish I had that with my granddad. I sure would have put it on the market."
Yeah. Be a millionaire, right?
Yeah, that's the way things were back in the day.
Yeah. That's awesome. Working and being around Freedom League, did you know Tom Milliken?
Yes. Tom was a young fellow that was a student at Auburn, and he started coming by, and he helped my sister a lot. Helped organize and stuff. Had this young lady, I can't think of her last name, was named Kitty. She came down and started helping and stuff, and they caught all kind of trouble. He was living in the dorm, but he was easy to get along with. He was true to his belief that he thought everybody was equal and that everybody should have the same rights and stuff. And he would speak at the meeting, telling about his history with his family, how they felt about him. But he was saying he was convicted. He was convinced that he was doing the right thing. And this young lady came out from somewhere on the northern state. I can't remember exactly which state it was. And she came down and started being a part of it. And she caught trouble because for some reason or another, they labeled her as being, excuse the expression, a nigger lover. She didn't like white men. She wanted a black man and all this, which wasn't true. But that's what they tried to label her as and stuff. And she caught trouble, but they were very true to their belief, and they worked with us a whole lot. Helped us found other whites in the community that believed like they did. Some of them wouldn't come out, but they'll tell you they support you, but they would never come up and say they did.
Yeah.
But they would call and say, "We're behind you, you know, but you need, we'll help you," and stuff like that. I know my mother was working as a maid for a couple of folks, and they would encourage her to encourage us to keep doing what we're doing. So, but they never would come out and say anything, but she always felt good about at least the people she was working with were supporting us.
What did for you and Doris and everyone else involved with Freedom League, what did that support mean to the broader movement?
In Auburn, Opelika, it meant a whole lot. It
Yeah.
meant that we was standing up for something that we believed in, and that we was going to push it until we got what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that much a problem in Auburn, like I said. We marched, we did everything. Doris made a wonderful speech at City Hall in Auburn, and I'm sitting up there thinking that this is my sister making this speech like this. You know, you would think that she was Martin Luther King, the way she came across as a little 16, 17-year-old girl standing up there in front of around about, I say 200 people more in front of this little white building downtown Auburn. And she was speaking to the citizens of Auburn, not just to us. She was talking to the mayor, calling him out, calling out the city council, calling out the other people in Auburn to step up and be what they should be, and stop discriminating and give everybody the equal rights as anything else. That everybody had the right to vote, that we all should be able to go into a place and eat, public funds and stuff, that we need our street paved and sewer in our streets just as much as they had it in other places and stuff. And after that, they start doing more in Auburn. Our parents start being more open about things and stuff and helping. And when it came to integration, it was like freedom of choice. You choose the school you want to go to. The year after I graduated, I went to Auburn, I went to Tuskegee, but that following year they had freedom of choice. A lot of people decided they wanted to go to Auburn. And it wasn't any problem. They didn't have any fights, they didn't have any disturbances and stuff like that. And then they turned around and closed Drake, and everybody was integrated and went to the same schools and stuff. But it took a while for them to really get to the point where they accepted everybody as equal. Like they had certain rules for majorettes, they had certain rules for this and that. And really, when it came to athletics, things didn't change until they got a fellow by the name of Coach Frank Torbert, Tolbert, as coach at Auburn High. And he started winning championships, putting teams together. And Auburn High became one of the powerhouses in basketball back in the 80s and 90s. So after that, that's when the Auburn High School decided, everything came together more and more. Like I said, my kids went to Auburn High, and one played football, the other one tried, but he decided he just wanted to just be a student over there. My daughter was on the honor society and took AP courses, and then everybody accepted. And I was invited to come over and talk to classes a lot. As being the first African American deputy sheriff, some of the teachers were some of my classmates, and they used to call me and ask me could I come over and talk about my experience at law enforcement, talk to the kids about being good citizens and stuff like this. So that's one of the things I used to enjoy a lot about after the integration and stuff.
So as a parent with young school children that went to school in Auburn, what were some of the biggest differences between your school and versus your children's school and
Well, at Drake, we had teachers that at the time they were young, some was old, but the thing about it, they cared about you. And they were just like extended family. Everybody knew everybody, knew the teachers and knew the principal, you knew the council and stuff like that. If I did something that wasn't right in school, next thing I knew, they was calling my mother or my father and telling us, Cary, I had to discipline today, and I get home, and my mother and they'll be waiting on my discipline some more. It was just like they had the right to treat me like I was their child when I was at school. I was expected to say, yes, ma'am, honor them like I should, and perform as a young man. Now, when they integrated, it seemed like they took out the part where a teacher could spank somebody. And I'll be honest with you, I always felt that it was one of these things where the black didn't want no white whooping their kids, and the whites didn't want the black teacher whooping their kids or disciplining their kids. That's the way it was. That's the way I felt. Whereas before that, you had discipline in both schools. If you did something wrong over here at Auburn High, they had the right to discipline. You did something wrong at Drake, they had the right to discipline. But now you had to get the principal and the council and everybody else involved instead of the teacher taking care of his own classroom. So that was one of the biggest differences and stuff like that. And you lost that communication between parents and teachers. You had some teachers that would call the black parents and tell them about something, but some of them would just ignore it and just keep going. You know, and then you had the black teachers that if they called, they was being like ignored by the white parents. So it took a while for them to get that part together.
Yeah.
They finally got to the point where, you know, after Coach Torbert got there, he was a different type coach. If you made an F and you wanted to play ball there, any case you were white or black, he had a board. And in a way, he disciplined you with X number of licks for your grades. If you wanted to play basketball there, if you didn't, you had to get your hair cut. You had to do this and do that. He didn't care if you were white or black. You had to get your hair cut. You had to be dressed neatly at all times and stuff like this. And they saw him as a man that was stepping forward and trying to build young men. So they started accepting a whole lot after he got there, a little bit more than they did before.
Yeah. When your children went to school, was it pretty well integrated? Like,
oh yeah, it was totally integrated.
It wasn't just like your like 5 black kids here.
No.
Okay.
Every kid and all went to Auburn High when they went to school, and I went to the elementary school and stuff like that. Matter of fact, they had a lot of teachers that was black also that brought them in. Had some as counselors, and over the years, I would say the white and the black both respected all of them. You know, I remember my daughter having some problems when she was in elementary school, and I had 2 teachers that I knew that I went over and talked to them about her, and they worked with her, and then not only her, but there were two African American teachers, and then they had two white teachers, and they all got together and helped her. You know, no problem at all and stuff like that. It just when she went to school, it was just different. You know, it picked up a little bit better than it was when my son was there and stuff.
What year were they in school? Like, what year did they graduate high school?
It was in the 80s.
Okay.
It was in the 80s.
Was Lee Scott Academy around at that time?
Yeah, Lee Scott Academy started right after just when we started. It was Lee, and then it was Scott. Scott was where Lee Academy was over here by the airport. Scott was over there where it's at now. They had 2 different ones. Opelika was Scott, and Lee was in Auburn. When integration started, a lot of white kids decided, parents,
we're going to go there.
Organized Scott in Opelika and Lee in Auburn. So that's how they came up, and a lot of one with money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That had money was able to pay their tuition and get over there. Some people got scholarships and went over there and stuff like that. Because you had some rich families that was against integration at the time that had money in Opelika and had money in Auburn. Scott Academy was named after the person that contributed a lot of land and money toward it. His family now is still got building company here, and they used to have a lumber company in Opelika.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who started Auburn, but Scott was, just stood out more than anything else, and it did. It took some of the athletes, white athletes, away from the schools, and they created their own football teams, basketball teams, and stuff like that. And they had everything that everybody else had. And then in the last 20 years, they have not started recruiting blacks to these private schools for athletic reason and for scholarship reason.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that have money have been able to send some to Scott's and some to, Lee Scott now, they combined both of them. And Lee Scott, which turned out to be a great school, with Glenwood and Smith Station.
Mm-hmm.
And matter of fact, before they had white, and I went to work at the sheriff's department, one of my things on Friday night, I was assigned to on Friday night, some Friday night, to work the games at Glenwood. And I'd be the only black there, and I'd be the deputy sheriff directing traffic, trying to control the crowd. And I didn't have no problems. I just go out there and walk around. They played football, everybody spoke and got the traffic out and stuff. At the time, the chief deputy, he didn't care. He just, your rotation, you went. So that's what I did. So
Mm-hmm.
everything worked out all right for me. So
Yeah. So going off the how you said you were the first African American sheriff's deputy.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. So, what does it mean to you that you're the first African American man to have that title?
I feel good in a way. I was able to do something. I always felt that God had placed me here because I hadn't planned on being in law enforcement at all.
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you, to get a little history. I always wanted to be a pilot. I always wanted to be a veterinarian. So I
Mhm.
went to Tuskegee. I went down there and played, got an Air Force ROTC, made good grades in that. But I played around so much, so I ended up being suspended for a year because my grades had fell below what they needed to be. And during that time I was suspended, I was drafted. And when I was drafted, I went in the Army, and they said, well, look on that board. If anything up there that you think you want to be, you can sign up for an extra year and we'll put you in there. So the Vietnam War was going on. I said, well, I don't need to be no infantry. So I looked up there. I said, well, they got switchboard operator. That means I'll be taking telephone calls, taking this and doing that, working on lines and stuff. So I said, okay. I said, I'll take switchboard. I'm going to sign up for an extra year instead of 2 years and 3 years. After I finished that, I ended up being sent to Germany after my 18. And I ended up, when I got to Germany, they put me in MP school. I said, MP school? Yeah. So after I finished MP school, I was signed as a military policeman. First at a place called Cedar Box, where you had to have a secret clearance to do anything. I mean, to patrol the outer perimeter, the inner perimeter of this place. So after then, that 6 months, and I got a secret clearance, and I got promoted real quick, and I left the Army as a military policeman, and as an E5. And next thing I know, when I came back to the state, I ended up working at the rec center with a guy named John Lockhart. And for some reason or another, a man named Jack Walton Sr., an employment officer, saw I was an MP, and I put in an application. He sent me over to see Sheriff Pearson. And he looked at me and said, fill out this application. So I filled it out. And even put on that about I've been arrested. I said, well, they ain't going to hire me. Because, I said, I don't think this place changed that much. So 2 weeks later, he called me, told me he wanted to talk to me, hired me, sent me over there to see the chief deputy. So that's in October 1, 1971. Me and John Lockhart both left the rec center and went to work as law enforcement. He went to work at Auburn, which already had John Donn working over there. And I went to work at the sheriff as the first African American. And when I first walked in, everybody looked at me kind of funny. Matter of fact, we had an investigator whose dad-in-law was a state representative, and he thought he had a lot of pull with everybody and stuff. And after I'd been there a week, he brought a book out with my mugshot in it when I got arrested in Opelika for parading without a permit. He said, "Remember that person?" I said, "Yeah, you see the name there, don't you?" He said, "Cary Torbert." "That's me." He said, "Oh, what you do?" I said, "Well, don't it say parading without a permit?" And the book says, had something about, it was something other, like these are all agitators in Lee County and stuff like that. They had put this whole book out, all our mugshots, right? So I said, well, okay. So it got to the point I started feeling good about myself, because at the time, I had a chief deputy by the name of Jerry Popwell. He said, "I'm going to take you up under my arms. I'm going to show you how to do things and law enforcement and stuff like that." And now you got to understand that Jerry Popwell was someone that the black people didn't exactly like for some reason, because they said he was a bully. But when he came to me, he treated me like me and him were brothers. He said, "Do you have a weapon?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Well, get in the car." We went to his apartment. He came out, he gave me a weapon, outfitted me and stuff like that. And he always had my back. He always stood up for me. And as the time went around over the years, he put me in positions where I could be where I'm at today. Because him and the other lieutenant and the investigators didn't get along too good. They was always at each other back, because they didn't know who was going to be sheriff, and just thought he had more power because his father-in-law was a state representative and stuff like this. And so he didn't trust him that much. So in 1973, 72, they had an election. The lieutenant that was on the night shift was politicking for another sheriff, another person to be sheriff. And what happened after the election, the other guy lost, the guy fired him. So at the time, everybody thought it was a joke in a way. They started calling me lieutenant. You know, we be riding around during the daytime. The dispatcher, the radio operator would tell, "We got a call in Smith Station." They said, "Lieutenant, you want to answer that? You want me to answer?" After about 2 or 3 times, I said, "You answer this one, I answer the next one." So a couple of weeks went by, and the sheriff called me in the office and said, "Since they're calling you lieutenant, I'm going to promote you to lieutenant on night shift," because the sheriff can do what he wanted to do back then. Mm-hmm. So next thing I know, I was a lieutenant. I was the highest ranking African American in law enforcement in Lee County after I'd been there only 2 years. So, and then after a while, since the chief deputy didn't trust his other lieutenant, he decided he wanted to do some other things, so he would put me on day shift, and next thing I know, he was saying, "You handle this, you handle that, you help with the budget, you do this right here." And I was sheriff at the time, developed counsel. So it was my responsibility to go pick him up every day. I go pick him up, put him in the car, bring him to the office, and he'd sit down and talk to him about a few things and stuff like that. And it got to the point where I was doing more of the chief deputy job during the day shift, because he'll be on night shift. He'll tell me what he wanted me to do and stuff like that. So when I was unfortunate, this sheriff died in office, and we got another sheriff that was appointed. And the one that was appointed, wife worked at the sheriff's department, and she had helped him write his resume to send to the governor. And the governor, and the resume was kind of like buzzer, right? You know, kind of like sloppy looking written. So I said, "Why don't we retype this right here?" He said, "No, Bob James know me. He know we ain't got to rewrite. Just send it to him like that." So they sent the sloppy resume down to Bob. So the lady who typed it, husband was appointed sheriff, and that created a problem. He refused to work day shift with him. So that put me in the middle of everything, because for some reason or other, during the sheriff's time, the former sheriff, when he was sick, I was doing everything to help try to build this new place over here. They put me in a position where I had to meet with the architects. I had to go travel with the committee to look at different places. You know, that was one of my responsibilities. So when he was elected sheriff, they were still working on it. So I was still doing the same thing. So he said, tell this chief deputy. One day he told me, he said, tell the chief deputy that I want him to come back to day shift. I said, okay, sheriff. So I throw it back on my back again. So I goes out there. I said, Jerry, the sheriff wants you to come back to day shift. Okay, bro. He said, bro, all the time. He said, bro, I tell him I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to start back tomorrow. I said, okay, then. So I come back and tell the sheriff, yeah, he come back to day shift the next day. So the next thing I know, Jerry, chief deputy, called me and said, I want to meet with you, the sheriff, and Miss Chapman this afternoon. I said, okay. So I tell the sheriff that he want to meet with us that afternoon, right? The sheriff, wife, and him, and me. And so I don't know where I'm doing that, but when he came through the back door that afternoon, he had a khaki shirt, khaki pants, and work boots, and his hair was all messed like he'd been working all day. He had a look on his face. I said, this ain't gonna be good. We goes into the office. He sat across from the sheriff. She sat on one end of the sofa. I sat on the other end of the sofa. He looked over there before he said it. He looked over there and looked at her and said, the more I look at that lady, the more I resent her. I said, oh, Lord. And the sheriff said, well, what'd she do to you? I don't know, but the more I look at her, the more I resent her. He said it third time, when he said third, he said, well, if that's the case, you resent her, then I'm going to tell you now you fired. Lieutenant, you go with him, get his uniform, bring the car back, and get his badge. He walks out. He said, bro, come into my office. He come out. All right, he sat there for a minute. He got some things out. He said, come on. We got in the car. We got over to his house. That's all right. I get that. We got over to his house. He said, I'm going to tell you what. You take the car. You tell him if he want this uniform and badge, he come get it because I ain't giving it to you. And you got to know Jerry. Jerry about 6'2", weigh about 230. And they played football at a place, son at Auburn. You know, he one of the Auburn football players over there and played up on the field. Played there. Muscles played with Stuart Jordan in all those years and played good ball over there until they played Nebraska. And he said he got whooped pretty good that day when they were playing center, and Glover and them whooped him, he said. But so I come back and tell the sheriff that, and the next thing I know, that's when my career started changing a little bit. I got promoted, me and another guy got promoted to captain. And then he didn't accept his role as good as he should did, so he left and then promoted another guy to captain. And then in 1983, I became major, chief deputy, and that's where I've been ever since.
Did you ever feel that any of your colleagues or the broader white community kind of didn't appreciate your quick rise in the ranks? Did you ever feel any animosity or anything like that?
The only person that had an animosity was this other captain that was with me for a while. I don't think he accepted the point that me and him was appointed captain at the same time, and that I was spending a lot of time with the committees and stuff like that. But he got a divorce from the representative daughter, so the sheriff didn't have too much faith in it.
Yeah.
So that's the only person that seemed like I had anybody that had anything to say negative about me being promoted. Everybody else was very acceptable. They followed my lead, because when the other sheriff was appointed, he had been a state trooper all this time, but never been in the sheriff's department. And it was left up to me to try to hold things together the way it was. And over the period of time, I got to the point where I put it this way. The 18 years that he was sheriff, he never did go into jail except at the time of the grand jury. And we were being sued a lot back then. So it fell on me to make me responsible for the jail. Me and another young lady, the jail administrator, used to be on the stand all the time because he would get on the stand and say, the jail was responsible for Major Torbert. And next thing I know, I was in front of the federal judges at least twice a week for about 2 years here. But we never did go up under a federal court order. Every county around here was up under one except Lee County. Because we were building the jail, and our policy procedures that we put together was one that the courts accepted. Matter of fact, they took a lot of our policy procedures and nurses protocol and took them to other counties. They helped them get started. And that's one of my responsibilities I felt good about. I helped write our departmental manual, helped write our jail manual, and all that over the period of time. So, matter of fact, because of my time I spent writing manuals for our department and they used other places, Judge Cary certified me as an expert witness in jail management and stuff. So I used to testify a lot in federal court about our policy procedure and about other department policy procedures. So,
do you think if you were from a different city or county and you joined the police force like that, do you think they would have been as welcoming as they were in Lee County, Auburn?
No, it took Russell County a while to get to that point. They ended up with a black chief deputy now. Chambers County had a black jail administrator. That's it. Tallapoosa County, I don't know if they ever had one or not, but those counties I don't think would have accepted someone rising in 1970 something, starting the way I rose so quickly and stuff like that.
Do you think part of that is because Auburn's like the university town?
I'll be honest with you, because of Auburn University. And because certain peoples at Uniroyal, certain peoples at Diversified Products at the time had an open mind. And I used to communicate with them a lot. And thing about it, their influence had a lot to do with everything. You know, a couple of times I had to go make speeches at certain places and stuff, and people accepted me more quicker than I thought they would. You know, and I kind of enjoyed it in a way. The policemen in Opelika, the policemen in Auburn, accepted me as lieutenant, and accepted me as major, and accepted me as chief deputy. I had a lot of times had to fire a lot of whites from this department, and nobody ever got angry about it. They understood why I would fire them. I suspend some. I may suspend you today, but the next day after I choose you out, I bring you in and we'll talk like a man. We go to lunch. So nobody had held anything against me. It's the same way with inmates. If they acted a fool in jail, I would go back there, I raise hell, I get on them, I get them straight. They respect me. They know when I walk through that door, either you going to act right, or either we were going to get it on. And if I got it on, I was going to win. So when it got down to the point, I meet them on the street. And like I told you before, scary thing ever, I'm not scared, but in a little fear, got them in one night at a watch night at a church. When they asked somebody to have a testimony to get up. And this fella got up and said, I have a testimony, and I recognize him being in jail. First thing he says, one man sitting there had a lot to do with my life. I said, oh, Lord, this man going to tell him I cussed him out. I raised hell with him and did everything else. And he looked at it, he said, Major Torbert, sitting back there, pointed back at me, had a lot to do with my life. I said, oh, Lord, here it comes. He said, that man treated me like a man, respected me, showed me where I went wrong, and tried to help me correct things, and that's the reason I'm here today, because of his influence. I said, thank you, Lord.
How'd that make you feel? I got goosebumps just like hearing that story, so.
I tell you what, tears came in my eyes, and I just felt like the Lord was with me that night.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way. Listen, and I meet people on the street now. I have yet, a lot of people carry their weapons when they're off duty.
Mm-hmm.
I've been with this department over 50 years, full and part-time. 53 years after this year. And I don't carry a gun off duty. I meet folks that been in jail, that I done arrested, and nobody have yet to say anything negative to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I take that back. I had one fella, after he was arrested one night, and I told Auburn police to be careful because he keep a gun. He was beating his wife that night. So they confiscated his gun, and the next day after I got off duty that night, he gonna come across the street because he lived in my neighborhood. He gonna come to the street and gonna challenge me. And I said, okay. Before I got to the door, he started running. I didn't know that my mother and my father lived in the house below me, right? And when I got to the door, I saw my mama come around the house with her Singer-Barrel 410 shotgun. And she was telling him some things, and he started running because he knew my mama was one of them kind that she was going to shoot him up with them bird shots for bothering her son. And the next 2 days, he came and apologized and went and apologized to my mother for the way he acted, and stuff like that. But that's one thing I never had to worry about, because when I worked night shift, my wife was going to school. I come home, I go to sleep, she'll drop the kids off at her grandmama's house. My mama always watched my back, because she was at home, my dad, and she said, boy, you ain't got nothing to worry about, go to sleep. That's the way she was, She was brought up with shooting guns and stuff, and she didn't take no from nobody, me or nobody else. So I never to worry about that.
When you first started, did you feel like was there a divide at all between the police department and like Auburn or Opelika's black community?
No, at the time when I worked, Auburn, Opelika, and the sheriff and the state trooper all worked close together, because we only had around about 8 deputies. And you think about big of this county, and at the time we have a lot of beer joints that open on Saturday nights and Friday night, and we was the only wet county, which means that we the only county that had clubs open at night.
Mm-hmm.
Chambers didn't have none, Tallapoosa, Macon didn't have it, so everybody came to Lee County on the weekend. So we had the Last Chance, Little Oak Tree, and all the Kellers, and all these places out throughout the county that'd be loaded with people drinking every night. So it's only be our 8 deputies, it'd be 6 deputies working, because the lieutenant that was in court didn't work at night. So we used to come to work on Friday, get off at 5, come back up at 8 o'clock that night, 7 o'clock that night, and work to 3 o'clock the next morning, because we had to patrol the joints. And so if we need a backup, Auburn would back us up on the west side, Opelika would back us up on the north side, and Phoenix City would back us up in Smith, Alabama. Mm-hmm. So we all worked together. And in the community, everybody worked closer together, except for one part of a year that Auburn started having a problem with a small group that was anti-law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the time that one person was chasing the Auburn policeman around, shooting at him in Auburn. And the officer returned fire, ended up shooting him. And that created tension in Auburn for a while, And that's when even myself being a black policeman, I felt that I was threatened in a way. I would when I got off, I had a patrol car at the house. I would end up taking my shotgun in the house with me, to protect. I said to protect my family if anything had any problem, but never to have any problem. Mm-hmm. After that incident, there was a little fearful thing about things in Auburn, but after about 6 months, that went away. And everybody came together. Mm-hmm. And during my time here at the sheriff's department, we have had one deputy killed on duty, A lady ran over in a car. One officer killed in Opelika by a man and his wife at the mall down here. Auburn, and then had one person killed. And like I said, they shot at officers in Auburn about twice. And that has been the only incidents that I know of. Now, we done had to kill. We done had, since I went part-time, I think our department had 2 incidents where we ended up at the failure to shoot someone that were trying to take out the deputies at the time, which was investigated and turned out for us having any backlash from the community, we have not. And there hadn't only been blacks, there have been white offenders also.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing.
What's so in the past several decades, as Lee County and Auburn kind of gets bigger, how's the role of the police changed, and how do you see your guys' job being a part of the future?
Well, for a while now, there was some division between the top more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
When we in 1983 or 84, back in that time, they was talking about combining the jail and communication all in the one place when they built this place out here. And everybody was on board for a while. Have a central communication system, have a centralized jail because we had the space. But the people at the top got to arguing who was going to be in charge. The mayor of Auburn stopped talking to the sheriff. The sheriff stopped talking to the mayor of Auburn. So that caused the problem. Opelika was still on board in a way, but they wanted to go to something that Auburn and Opelika didn't want to go to. Different type radio system. So the chief over there kind of stepped away from Auburn and Opelika and got his own system, radio system that we couldn't hear. Mm-hmm. Where in the past we all could monitor each other. If there was a robbery going down or going by, I knew it was going down. All of a sudden, if a robbery going down Opelika, we didn't know. We could ride right up on it, and that created some problems. So finally, we kind of worked that out a little bit. Well, at least they would notify us right away, and our people would be notified and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
In the 70s, we all had each other back more than we have it now, in a way. Auburn will back us up. Opelika will back us up at certain points and stuff like that. But you had to get permission to go back somebody up now. Where then, if I was on the west side and you got in a fight, I automatically start heading your way because I knew you were by yourself. Now, if you get in a fight and get over that side, we got to dispatch our folks. If Auburn close around, they got to get permission to go back us up and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just a little bit. They changed the way things work a little bit more than anything else.
Has redistricting impacted that at all?
No. The redistricting and the way things are working now, I put it this way. Lee County have to have so many representatives to sign off in the legislature that we have to have in Lee County compared to other counties. Where we used to just have to have one person or 3 people used to be able to sign off on local bills. And if you got those 3 people to sign off on local bills, well, no problem. Mm-hmm. Now we got to have about 6 or 7 to sign off on local bills. If one person decides they didn't want to sign off on it, you was in trouble. Yeah. And that's what caused the problem. For some reason, when they came to Lee County, I looked at the map one time, it looked like we were the only people that had about 5 or 6 different districts in it, which created a bigger problem than anything else. Where one time we had 2 representatives and a state senator. Now we got, I think it's two senators and about 5 representatives, which kind of has went crazy. Like the city of Auburn in the 70s, you had the ward set up where you had 2 majority black wards. Now, I'll be honest with you, the way they done took the housing and development in Auburn, Alabama, really you don't have a majority black thing. Because if every student on the west side were registered in their ward. They will control that ward that the lady's in now, because they done took the single resident and converted them all into apartments. I think you live on Donahue, don't you?
Yeah, Donahue and Magnolia.
Okay, Donahue and Magnolia. That one time that was a university. But if you came across the railroad track at Donahue, it was all single houses.
Mm-hmm.
From the west, from Sanders Avenue in Auburn toward the west side was all single dwelling.
Mm-hmm.
You go there now. It used to call a place called Draketown. It was all single dwelling. You go down, it's a whole community, apartments.
Mm-hmm.
You take Glen Avenue, used to be single dwelling. You go down Glen Avenue now. What you see? All
those apartments.
All apartments.
It's changed even in the year I've been here.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Unfortunately, the blacks didn't realize the value of their property.
Uh-huh.
And as the older one died, the kids wanted money. And they thought $20,000 was enough to sell their family property.
Mm-hmm.
Because you take Donahue Drive, you take where the city have that shop at now. It used to be just a shop, and across the street used to be single apartment, single housing. You got all apartments. You come all the way up there, it used to be single houses. Every place is apartment, because the property was like 100 feet wide and 300 feet back. So you got 300 feet back and 100 feet wide, you can put apartments all the way down that property line. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. Development saw this, and just like now, this lady that's in Auburn that I've been knowing, and I know her family. As a matter of fact, my cousin that used to hang around is one of her aunts, named Woodson, have 40 acres of land. Unfortunately, the development, like the Cleveland brothers, is fixing it where they just going back in my opinion, robbing the blacks of their property. They say it's legal and stuff like that, and the Cleveland brothers been around there for a while. But what I've been hearing and watching them do, they'll pick out one person in the family, coat that person, get that person to sign over their property, get them a little money. Next thing you know, then they got the foot in the door, and they end up wants to sell their part of it, so they forced everybody else to sell theirs. Because they had another person, matter of fact, they had done that to another family in Auburn about a couple months ago, and they went to the courthouse and told them that, look, the Cleveland brothers do not own this. My mother passed, my wife the executive of the state, this is this, right? And they made them change everything to give me my tax paper, because only they found out about it, they hadn't gotten any tax paper, And they did all this stuff behind their back. So, it's just the way things go now. Mm-hmm. I don't mind being, I'm one of the kind, I don't mind speaking out and telling you how I feel anymore, because I feel like someone at Auburn has sold out.
Yeah.
And I can't call no names and stuff like that, but if you look at the top of the Auburn Council's development and all this, that somebody is always siding with the developers more than they side with the citizens of Lee County. I know I went to a meeting one time, they wanted to put a road about some property I had, and it wasn't feasible to put it there, but they wanted to put it there because they want to open up another area for a development to do what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I spoke up against it, like I told them, so they denied it, but I can't get nobody else to go speak up against things like that. Well, that just means let me be quiet.
Do you feel like there's a divide in the city, like government, where they care more about what like the college kids want versus what the community or old timers want? I guess
I'll put it this way: the rumor that I had that our former president of the university said he wanted about 40,000 students on campus.
It's about 31 now, right?
Yeah, mm-hmm,
I think.
Yeah. So if you got 40,000 students, you got to have somewhere for them to live, right?
Yeah.
So development started looking at that. people from New York, Atlanta, coming in quoting our folks that we have brought a community development person from Florida to here to help develop this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you you see these little signs, if you didn't notice those little signs and then read them and then go to somewhere, next thing you know, you went from single dwelling to a multi-development thing like they did on the west side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, White Street Church and all that, you know, they just changed things. So what? So it got to. You care more about, I guess. I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it. Thing about it, I look at it this way: the city of Auburn had gotten to the point where they care more about the big money man than the little man, and even the students.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look at how much these students paying and what they're paying for. You know, I guarantee you, they put 4 students in an apartment, and each one of them paying over $1,500 for one room and a common room. You know, and then they turn around and tell them that they only have 2 parking spaces. You got 2 parking spaces, but 4 people living and 4 people got cars. Where the other 2 cars gonna go?
Yeah.
They're gonna be towed off by some company in Auburn where the students are gonna have to pay to help support these towing companies.
Mm-hmm.
I get so tired of riding down the street, and every time I ride down the street, that's 5 tow trucks with cars on the back, and they all coming from apartments.
Mm-hmm.
And who paying for that? Students and student parents. They're raping the heck out the students.
Yeah, kind of predatory, right?
Yeah, but you tell me. Maybe I'll talk to you later. I ain't got time to talk. But you know, I guess you say I'm just getting some things that I don't mind. I tell everybody the same thing. But it's when you put 40,000, they still ain't got enough apartments. But when they finish these apartments, 10 years from now, what they gonna do? They gonna tear some of them down and have to redo them. They got to refinish one. And then when they turn around and this one done lived up to this point, they say you got it made into a Section 8, and you got, as they said, the middle class moving in there,
Mm-hmm.
and the Mexicans moving in there, which that's something else that drives me crazy. You wants to say you don't need them, but who doing all the work? You go down Highway 14, who you see doing all that road work out there? How many Mexican restaurants you have in Auburn and Opelika? Every time a restaurant closed, what is it? What open?
A Mexican restaurant.
And we support them, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but yet,
Yeah.
who picking the fruit?
Right.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, a black man ain't going back in the field picking cotton no more.
Mm-hmm.
And picking fruit. Those days is over with, where you can go out there and grab a black man and say, I'm going to pay you, I'm going to let you live on my property. You pick the cotton, I'm going to let you shop in my store, and at the end of the year, you get $500. Those days over with.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got people that really think that they can turn back. You got, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I don't work for a Democrat sheriff. I don't work for a Republican. I work for a Republican sheriff now, and they both treated me fairly without any problems. And didn't ask me who I would vote for anything else, because I tell them I vote for the person. I vote for who I think gonna lead and be a good leader. Mm-hmm. If you're a Republican, I vote for him. If you're a Democrat, I'm gonna vote for him. But you got to show me that you're gonna be fair to everybody, and not for yourself. And for some reason or another, Republicans saying they want to balance the budget, but they want to balance the budget on the back of the poor man, not the rich man.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the Democrat, they want to spend money, but they don't want to. They got some crazy stuff I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to look at who's gonna be the best leader.
Yeah.
You know, more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I guess you say I'm talking a whole lot today.
Oh no, this is great. We're getting some real good stuff, and this is.
I just like I just being honest with you and stuff like that. It's just like Sheriff Jones. Sheriff Jones has been one of the people here in Lee County that have won the hearts of just about everybody, white and black. Democrats won't run against him because he's fair. Even though he's a Republican, he's on the Republican Executive Committee. He don't agree with everything that he come out with.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, when it came to picking a chaplain for this department, he ended up being a black man.
Is
Reverend Clifford Jones is the chaplain
okay.
for the Sheriff's Department from Greater Peace. We have been over to his church. Matter of fact, I roasted the sheriff. I did been at his church over there last year. He sang with their choir and stuff like that. He don't mind. He's just a part of the community, somebody that you can relate to, and you don't, you know. If you had more people in this community like him, you'll be much better.
We'd be in a pretty good place.
A heck of a better. The mayor of Opelika, he's pretty good, but he got some of those ways that still go back a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and the mayor of Auburn, I ain't got too much. He tried, but I got a little feeling he was a little resentful. People my age and a little bit younger than me, excuse me, I know you're white though, but white, my age and a little bit younger than me, resent us. Affirmative action. They think affirmative action took a lot away from them.
Yeah.
But I tell them, y'all took a lot away from me before affirmative action. I said, I wasn't hired because of affirmative action. I was hired because of my resume. Even though I ended up being the first black, but I had the better resume than anybody in that department. And I had to work harder than anybody in that department to get where I'm at. I said, you can ask my wife today, she'll tell you that I left the house at 6 o'clock in the morning and get home at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Worked on Saturday and Sunday to make sure this department was one for the citizen. I serve the citizens of Lee County, not the Sheriff's Department or anything else. I've just been blessed to be able to serve the people of Lee County and not myself.
Yeah.
You know, people say, I thank you for your service. No, I thank you for the opportunity, for giving me the opportunity to serve you and provide for my family. That's the way I look at it.
What's it like dealing with kind of the next like up and coming generation in Auburn and Lee County? So you talk about the older generation there. Some of them are a little resentful in a way. So what's it like dealing with the
younger generation is more acceptable. They see things as they see. They treat you as a person. They don't care if you're white or black or whatever. I even date, you're a date of black, you're a date of white. You see a more interracial marriage now are dating that you ever thought about in Auburn, Alabama. You know, in my day, if I looked at a white girl, the next thing I know, I was hell. If a white guy looked at a black girl, man, you crazy, you know. But now it's more acceptable that marriage and things, and people respect each other a little bit more. You know, the younger people will fight for each other, don't care who it is, as long as they in the same belief or whatever. In my generation, if I was against abortion and the white was against abortion, because I was against it, hey, they'll be for it. And wherever I was for it, they was against. That's, you know, and if you notice, wherever they can dismantle someone that was been in a position for 20 years, those people are being removed. I looked at something that happened in the state government about 10 years ago. They used to have a program they called the DROP program, where you can work after 55, X number of years. You can retire at 55 if you've been 25 years, and your retirement goes into account. And continue to work at the same salary that you had. You know, after so many years, it was frozen for 5 years. You know, and when it came out, when they started looking at it later on, it was a good program. When they got looking at it later on, they looked at two people more than they looked at the other folks, and looked at the people who were being getting on the program. It was more black teachers, more black law enforcement, more black state representatives, state workers, and Department of Correction and everywhere else getting on this program. So if you are making $100,000 a year, 5 years, and then you got a retirement of something like $40,000 a year or $50,000 a year, that retirement went into a fund. 5 years at $40,000 a year, you had over $200,000, right? That money was set there until you retired. And when you retire, you can take part of it and say, I want $1,500 a month until it run out. And they saw, I'll be honest with you, the legislature changed the law when they started looking at it. The Republican got in, they changed the law. And who did it affect? All mostly blacks. And they used the excuse that Joe Reed and a guy named Herbert had $1 million. The reason they had $1 million because their salary was way up there, but y'all set. And when they retired, they was getting something like $800,000. I mean, $80,000 a year, and they worked 10 years or more. Stayed on the state thing for 10 after they got in the drop. The money was still there, it being invested for the state at retirement system stuff. But they resented that they got that money. And they talked about it. It wasn't right. So next thing you know, they done changed it. They lost a lot of people when they changed it.
Yeah.
Teachers retired in Auburn, go to Georgia. Worked 10 or 15 years and got to retirement. Most of the teachers in Lee County on the county lines and stuff like that, Florida line, but I'm gonna stay there for. They lost a lot of good teachers. And what they end up doing as state workers is, okay, they run the top paying one off and bring someone with no experience in at a lower pay, and they say they saving money. But they losing experience and end up having more problems than they had before, where they could have balanced it out, brought in new people, and kept some of the old ones that would have stayed and let things balance out and be a smooth transition. It's just like law enforcement. I lose a captain. I'm promoting someone that's been there 2 years, a captain, and it ain't like it was when I was in there. You know, when I was there, it was just a few of us, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Now this captain have to sit around and deal with the budget, deal with money, deal with this and do with that. And the way the laws done changed, the way society done changed, 2 years not enough to learn enough about what you need to do and stuff.
Yeah.
You need to have some kind of transition. It's just like an engineer. My daughter went to work for the state as an engineer. She came in on the bottom. They had an older person there, and they had this stuff, so she transitioned and learned from that older person. Now that person gone, and she's up at near the top. And she said that if I leave, I don't have anybody back behind me that wants to come in, because the pay they want to give them, they don't load it so much and they changed the way.
And this is in Alabama. This is in Alabama.
Alabama. She worked for the Department of Environment Management, you know. So she traveled from Auburn to Montgomery every day. Something I thought she gonna live in Montgomery, but she said she gonna live down there after all that violence.
Yeah.
So she never married, and she still at the house. 40-something years old, so I told her she's raising me now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know
No,
you got
you're all
other
good.
things you want to talk
You're
about.
all good. So what do you see for the kind of like a wrap up question? What do you see is the future of Auburn looking like?
Well, we need to start where we're at for development. I don't mind bringing in jobs and stuff, opening up the industrial parks in a way where we're doing clean type management, manufacturing and stuff like we're doing now. That's good. But for us to grow for Auburn, we don't need 40,000 students. Where we're at now is a nice cap. And we need to stop all this trying to look like Peachtree, Atlanta. You done destroyed downtown Auburn. You go downtown Auburn now, you go down Glen, you look up, And I was scared to walk past one of the buildings because some of the bricks fell down. They had to come back and do something about it.
Yeah.
You know, that one had scaffoldings up under for around about half a year or more. Because a brick or two had fell off the top.
Wow.
Now, suppose that brick had fell down and hit somebody because they were building them too fast and stuff.
Yeah.
You got to stop listening to the rich and start listening to the common man. The people in government need to start more listen to, I guess, the common man on the street and some of the students. Some of the students have even been speaking out against this cost of housing. It's getting to the point where when the student leaves, that he owes more on his housing than he do on his education. You know, I done borrowed all this money to pay for to live at this place for 4 years. Just think about $1,400 a month for a room. For one room, to use up a bathroom with somebody else in one common area that only have a microwave in it, so much have stove.
Yeah.
My granddaughter go to school with that over now. Live on campus. But when it's four in this room that they have. They got a common area with a microwave and a refrigerator.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, but yet the cost, like I told my son, I have a piece of property on Drake Avenue where I used to live. I'm renovating it now. She got campus this year, next year she got the house.
That's pretty close, right?
Yeah, it's right down, you know, you take Drake Avenue, where White Street used to be at. It's right around the corner from there.
Okay.
And I used to walk. When I was going to school at Auburn, I used to get off at 6 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock, I used to walk to class. That's where some apartments used to be a trailer park through there. Go through there, walk to class every day, and walk back home and take a nap and go to work.
Yeah.
You know, but those are good days. The campus, you can drive through campus.
Yeah, on Thatch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, you can't drive.
No.
Like you go down Thatch Avenue, you should be able to go all the way through. You can't go in front of Haley Center now. I should be able to go down through that park. If I was on day shift, I should go park in the parking lot behind Haley Center, go to class. You know, because at the time the sheriff let me go to class while I was on duty.
Okay.
He said, come to work 8 o'clock. You got a class at 10, go to class, but you work till 6 o'clock. That was our trade-off. He said, I should work a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I went to Southern Union, and I went over there, and it helped me get my degree. That's something that after I flunked out of Tuskegee that I promised my mom I was going to do. And that's something else that when I was in the military, my mom and dad had sacrificed for me to go to school at Tuskegee, and it cost a pretty penny to go to school down there. And he had to save these bills, these bonds, all these years, going to send his son to Tuskegee, right? I go down and play around. I felt so bad. My mother always wanted to be a nurse. So when I was in school, when I was in Germany, I wrote her and I told Mama, I'm having X number of dollars to take out my check every month. You enroll at Southern Union and go get your degree in nursing. And I paid for her to go to school in nursing. And she got hers. So,
that's awesome.
You know, that's the way family was.
Oh yeah, for sure. Going back a little bit, being a high school aged boy during Vietnam, what did that feel like? Did it kind of like loom over you? Were you?
I tell you were scared all the time.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. We had some people in the community that went there and come back as drug head alcoholics. One person they got killed that we knew of. And you were worried. And you see TV at night where people just being shot and stuff like this. And every night somebody some Vietnamese and killed them whole ran something.
Yeah.
Our people be bombing and all that. And you said, you'd be sitting there and say, I guess I'm gonna be next. And at the time, it seemed like we couldn't avoid the draft unless we went to school. And everybody was trying to get in school. If you didn't get in school, you got drafted. I got drafted because I had flunked out. Me and 3 of my brothers, all of us got drafted at the same time. One of my classmates got killed during the time before we got drafted. He had went in the service, got killed. He was a Marine, he got killed. I guess he'd been out of school about 9 months. 18 years old, then got killed. And it weighed on our mind. We all, see a guy come home, had one fella come home, his mind was so messed up that every time I saw him, he had a bottle. He was like he was drunk. But he was functioning though, but he was drinking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the time, back in those days, you came home on drugs. If you got caught with drugs, this judge we had back then, you got 15 years for having a joint.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now they're trying to figure out how they're going to sell it legally for medical wise. Back then, if you had a joint, I went on a bus on an 18-year-old one time with the sheriff. He had something like 2 pounds, which was in a paper bag. It wasn't 2 pounds, about a pound. And when the judge said 15 years after we testified, that poor boy knees buckled mine, because I swear, I said, this little white boy, he gonna get him,
He was a college student, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, and the thing about they were targeting college students and people who had just come out the war. This investigator we had, that's all they were targeting more than anything else. And you were just scared most of the time.
Yeah.
And when I first came home, the fellas who went in with me, they all went to Vietnam. They volunteered. I said, I ain't volunteering unless they send me. I got enough stress over here dealing with this stuff in Germany.
Yeah.
So next thing I know, I get home, we get in the car. They said, go over here and park over here. Tell me to park the car. They come back. They get in the car and say, go park in this corner over here. And they get back there, they put the lights out. No, this is my mama's car. Y'all ain't gonna light this up in here. I don't smoke that stuff and I don't want it. They said, man, it's okay. No, I tell you what, I dropped y'all off.
Yeah.
That's the last time they ever rode with me and stuff like that. And the first bus I went on with the sheriff department, who was it? The same guys I went to school with.
No.
And the only way they didn't go to prison, I told them back then, whoever you got it from, the top dealer coming here from Texas, let them know. They told on this guy who was bringing in a whole bunch of them from Texas, from Atlanta, coming through. He would drop so much in Auburn, and they busting him with a trunk load full of marijuana and cocaine or whatever, heroin or whatever. And they busted him, and for some reason with that big bus, they ended up dropping the charges on him. They didn't even take him to court. Because they know they went to court, jury trial, I don't give a damn what you done. You're going to get 15 years.
Yeah.
So, but one of them ended up down to A, and one of them ended up being a drug head, dying later on. They couldn't never function like us. And the one died A was valedictorian of my class.
Oh, wow.
The one that died with drug addiction was one of the smartest kids and had everything. His parents gave him everything when he was growing up. But
sad, yeah.
That's the way life was.
Mm-hmm. So you never had to go to Vietnam, right? You stayed in Germany.
I stayed in Germany.
What was it like growing up in Alabama and living and working and interacting with like Germany?
I put it as, when I first got over there, I was amazed. I saw 5 blacks when I got there. One of the guys who went into the service with me. He was MP in the company that I was assigned to. And the company that I was assigned to, I was the only black inside the whole company. And for some reason, the drill sergeant, my company sergeant, after he made me cut the whole baseball field, the whole company field with a push lawnmower, and I did everything that first day. He promoted me real quickly to a corporal within, I guess, I've been over there about 6 months. And from that point on, it seemed like I had fast track to promotions. So that made me E5 to sergeant, and I was in charge of the thing. But I always felt that I had to prove myself. I had to be above everybody else 5 times. I had to do things 5 times better than everybody else. And you had to be careful. You had certain clubs that didn't want blacks in it. You had certain clubs that you could go in. You got certain people that you could date and certain people you couldn't date. And my mother told me, because I had a cousin that had married a German, and when he got back to Birmingham, the Klans were looking for him. So they put her on a bus to Washington and put him on a train to Washington. They got him out of Birmingham.
And she was a white German woman.
White German. And my mother told me, she said, son, if you marry a German, you say hello and get out of town when you come back.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm scared to even date somebody over here. I ain't gonna worry about it. So I ended up finding this young lady whose mother was white and her daddy was black. And she had African American feature, and she called herself black. So they had some blacks and some whites. So that's who I dated while I was older. I felt safe. Me and her would go somewhere. We would go do things together. Yes?
Never mind. I see you want some meat.
No, I'm fine. Here, that one of the fellas grew up in my neighborhood.
Hey, man.
Nice to meet you.
Matt, you doing?
Matt Boyer.
He-
I'm with Auburn University. We're doing a oral history project about Lee County and Auburn.
Okay. Talk to the right man.
Oh yeah.
I tell you, he grew up with my sons.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of the people hired, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, though. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to meet you too.
So,
Did your time in Germany kind of give you a different outlook on kind of like American culture and all that?
it did. I tell you what, it made me feel in a way that people can live together
Mm-hmm.
if they respected each other. Because all while I was over there, I didn't have any problems with my fellow officers. They were mostly white, and we got along. We slept together, we bathed together, we showered together, and did
Mhm.
everything together. And I felt like, well, things would be like that when I get home. I got home, I found out it wasn't exactly the same.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when I first got home, me and the young lady were going to go to a movie. And we were going to come to Opelika. They had closed off the black part section. They only had the whites. Everybody go in one door now. The back of them were closed, so we go to the movie. And as soon as we got in Opelika, some people started looking at us funny. We said, no. She said, well, I don't feel like going to move it up here. Can we go to the drive-in? So I went to the drive-in instead of going to. Because drive-in used to be now where CBS in Auburn on Opelika Road.
Okay. Yeah.
Used to be a drive-in right there. Went to the drive-in, watched the movie, enjoyed ourselves and stuff. Even when I went to work at the sheriff's department, would you believe that the first 2 years I was here, I thought that you only have one place for everybody to go to the club in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I go up on 29 North. I walk in this club, I look at it, I said, got a little thing in the back door and the front door. All the white was in the front, all the blacks in the back. And they had a center counter. He sold the beer through this one here for the blacks and sold the whites on this side over here on the counter. And I go up the street further, same thing. I go up the street further, same thing. Then I go to one club, it's all black, no whites in it at all. I go in this other club, it's all white, no blacks in there. And I said, it was kind of strange in a way. Had this place on 280. Every time I walk in there, he said, you gonna have lunch with us? I said, no, I'm all right now. So one day I said I eat lunch. So he had the black part and the white part. Me and my partner set up in the front, in the white part, right? All the blacks sitting there looking through the window, saying, what I'm doing is sitting up front. You know, I wasn't supposed to be up that way, I guess. And that's the way it was. But the thing about it, I found out that people respected me and my uniform.
Yeah.
I walked in the white club, a place called Coconut Grove. I walk in there. If they had a fight, I took care of the fight. If I need to arrest somebody, I arrested them. If I didn't, I talked to them, took them aside. Nobody ever tried to take nobody away from me. That's the only time the chief deputy, I don't know, kind of crazy in a way, but I guess he thought I was gonna back down.
Yeah.
That place called Kelly had a fight. 2 white guys fighting. I got up there, I arrested both of them. I pulled up to the counter at the old jail downtown, booked them in. The chief deputy came in the room and said, "Bro, you done good." I said, "Chief, what you doing?" "I had your back. I was just gonna watch and see if you're gonna treat them the same way you treated the folks at the other place." I said, "Huh?" He said, "Yeah, 'cause you hadn't arrested them, I would have fired you." I said, "Okay." I said, "Chief, if a man break the law, I'm gonna do what I need to do.
Right.
If they want to fight, I guess we would have fought.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't want to fight, so that's where it was. The Lord blessed me with a way that I only had one incident with some women that whooped me one day, and my wife ain't never let me live it down. But I used to be able to talk my way out of everything. They could be fighting, acting a fool, and I get there and I holler at them and tell them to quit. Then I start talking to them. And next thing I know, they're following my instruction. Never pulled my weapon on the person all my time on the road till 1983 when I came off the road and started working as chief deputy. I never to pull, for 12 years, never to pull my weapon. Never had to shoot at nobody. And nobody never shot at me. I had some people with knives a couple of times that scared the heck out of me. But I talked to them and putting them down. I had one with a gun one time. I talked to him and he put it down because I tell you, that one day I almost did shoot.
Yeah.
But when he put that weapon down, me and him both felt good. I said, "You're alive and I'm alive."
It sounds like in a different life you could maybe be a politician.
That's what they tell me. My mother told me, said, "I don't know what happened when you went to Germany, but you came back home a different person."
Yeah.
And I said, "They made a man out of you."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, more than anything else, you and my dad have made a man out of me."
Mm-hmm.
People talk about corporal punishment. I said, if you hadn't put that switch on me like you did, I'd probably been in prison. Because my mama, she didn't hold back.
Mm-hmm.
If I lied, I lied to her one time. After that, I didn't lie to her no more.
Yeah.
Because I got one.
You learned your lesson.
I learned.
Yeah.
And I saw a guy come from reform school that was dark as my, you seen it, like, dark as this, my phone right here.
Mm-hmm.
And he started talking to him. He said, we was in the field from sun up to sundown and went to class. And we didn't do right, they whooped us.
Mm-hmm.
Scared us so bad in the community. You couldn't get a boy in our community to do nothing wrong.
Right.
Because that boy scared us. We saw that he couldn't hardly talk, come on, no broke hands on it, and looking like he was all humped over.
Yeah.
You didn't have to worry about us.
Yeah.
All they had to say was reform school and we straightened up.
Yeah.
And another thing that helped me a lot, I kind of respect the Auburn Police Department for a while. Because they could have put me on a path that would have never been where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm.
One guy didn't arrest me one night because I was drinking and had ran some red lights and all. And all he did was say, drive down the road, you don't have any problems, take the girl home, good night.
Yeah.
And my daddy was waiting on me and took my license. And that's the time I was working at the hospital, and they took me to work at the hospital for 2 weeks and picked me up. Wouldn't let me drive a car. An Auburn policeman, a white Auburn policeman, in 1969. I mean, no, that wasn't 69 because I was in the military. It was right after high school. After I went to Tuskegee, it was just before I got drafted, 68.
That's awesome.
You know, and if people had arrested me and I got that DUI and off my license, I wouldn't be in.
Yeah, I doubt I would be talking with
you
you.
won't be talking to me right now. You know, and that's the reason I said, God have a plan. People think I'm crazy, but God have a plan for each and every person on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow your conviction and follow His path, you'll succeed.
Yeah.
The people that don't succeed is trying to do more than what God wanted them to do and take the wrong path.
Well, I'm definitely glad that you got on that path and you made it here, and I got the chance to talk to you.
Well, it's been great, and like I said, I hit a roadblock now. I'm trying to write down some things about my life from the time I was born.
Yeah.
And
Speaking about writing stuff down, we talked earlier about how Doris gave that speech. Do you think she still has a copy of it, or
no, I wish she
long
had.
gone? Yeah.
I wish I know she wrote it. I wish she had kept a copy of everything.
Yeah.
That would have been the ideal speech. I mean, because
Yeah.
I tell you, I was so my daughter, my sister been through some things in her life, but I'm so proud of her. She was strong at that time, had some downfalls in her life for a period of time, came back from a downfall to become a leader in the community, functioning very well, talking to folks, and like I tell her now, I said, Doris, I said, you know, God took you through some troubling time, but He brought you back in time to spend with your mama, to help your mama get through her dying her days that she was passing and had needed some help, and you helped the whole family, and see why God done bless you now. You know, like I told my sister, I said, you have a house that your husband left for you. I have a house that Dad and them helped me start off with. They started me off in the home house, helped me buy the property I built my other house on, and led me in the right way. Daughters have changed and helped our mama, and my dad always wanted her and my brother to have these houses.
Yeah.
Maybe had one behind her, and daughters have this one. So if you're in agreement, we're just going to sign all our rights over to her. So all of us will have something that belonged to us, like my mom and parents wanted us to do.
Yeah.
And I said, without her help, me and you could have never been able to help mama like she did. So my brother passed by the time he would start working on his house, but thing about it, things turned out all right.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know for this project it's going to be a continuing thing, so we will definitely be in touch in the future.
If anything that I can help you with, or if you need me to contact someone, or either you want some more question answer and want me to run my mouth some more, I'd be glad to.
Absolutely.
Because the history of Auburn is need to be written from all perspectives.
Yeah.
You know, not only from the rich on this side, not only from the poor on the west side, but a little bit of all
everybody.
Of it. Because Auburn, in a way, because of the university, have helped the state of Alabama and did a whole lot. You know, I think about now, the west side, Donahue Drive was a dirt road. Westview, Spencer Line, and all those all dirt. No sewer over there, nothing else. Now you look at Sam Harris Park. Sam Harris was a councilman that worked hard to get roads paved. Now he done passed on now, and I was glad to have that park. And he was able to be over there and see it, how they done develop and stuff. Only thing I wish they would do, or where they're building those habitat houses, create a little corridor between there and that cemetery, and create a walking trail from Sam Harris Park to Westview Drive Cemetery, and redo that tennis court where the old in the days we had a tennis court there. We had a little place for a picnic back there. Had some old tables around it. We walked down the hill from the school. And we spent a lot of time over there playing tennis and doing everything else, you know. Had our little rink over there where the park was and stuff like that, which is torn down now though, but it just be a little shack over there where we had our little stand where our parents sold stuff out of stuff. And where they built the school, used to be a baseball field out there where we practiced football and played baseball at night and all those. those were some good days.
Oh, yeah.
You know, raiding everybody plum trees,
Yeah.
pear trees. Us boys, you couldn't have a plum tree in our neighborhood. Cause we were gonna jump the fence. We were gonna
Gonna go get some plums.
We gonna get your plums.
Yeah.
And then a lady had some pear trees. Now where True Deliverance Church at?
Uh-huh.
There's a little branch down there. She had about 5 pear trees lying down through there. She lived in a big house over there named Miss Bedell. Joseph Bedell. She lived in a big house over there where Ridgecrest Apartments at. She was a black woman. She had all that property, right? We used to sneak down on the backside of that and pick up pears. Mama and them said, "Where you get all these pears from?" "Oh, Mama, we just found them. No, y'all been raiding Miss Bedell thing."
Yeah.
She'll make pear preserve, then she'll send, but she said, "Take these to Miss Bedell and tell them that it came off her tree."
Yeah.
I had to take 3 quarts of pear preserve to her and admit that I stole them off her tree.
At least she got something out of it.
Yeah, but that's the way it was.
Yeah.
But those were some good days.
Oh yeah.
You know, people say that we were poor, but we didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember times they used to have these iron-on patches. You know, as a little boy, I used to be sitting around there. I'd be like, got a hole in my jeans. Mom be done went in there, turned them inside down, got that iron-on patch, iron it on, put a crease in them pants. They
Good to go.
They stood out. Now people tear holes in their pants
Yeah.
and wear 'em. But hey, we put patches on.
Yeah. What do we know, right?
Yeah, then make you wear. I just hated make me put on a white shirt with jeans and I used to call them church shoes. One no tennis. Go to school. You better not come home dirty
Yeah.
either.
That's awesome.
But that was a good days.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you again for everything. I'm gonna
Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead and shut this guy on down.
Okay, I'm gonna keep you for a while. Eh?
Yeah.